Can you hear me? Kind of. See my presentation now. It's not much. Spoilers. Okay, I'm going to race through it. I get a bit rangy. Arts Emergency is my charity. I'm the director. I founded it with my friend Josie, and I just want to talk about why we did it and how we did it. I don't think it's necessary to come and defend the value of an arts education to an audience like this. So I'm just going to talk about the story of how we made something happen. So we help low-income students access university and art school. There's Josie, my co-founder. Right now, the hopes and aspirations of poorer students are under attack. Over the past 4 years, the Educational Maintenance Allowance, Sure Start Centres and the Aim Higher programmes that supported disadvantaged young people in especially London have been severely cut or abolished in their entirety. And just to give you an idea of the context in which we're operating as a cause, the first coalition cut in 2010 was the absolute abolition of public funding for the teaching of arts degrees in public universities, which was a profound attack on what should be a fundamental value to any civilised society. Alongside that, there's been 20% slash from the budget to teach 18-year-olds who now have to take on loans if they want to go into further education, and we're also seeing redundancies and course closures in that sector. Nearly 27% of pupils on free school meals and 14% from low-income families are choosing not to study art and photography because of the costs involved now. And that's not our statistic, that's from an Oxford University study last year. So we've got a toxic situation where we're effectively trying to do something very pragmatic and very positive. What I suggest we're witnessing is a deliberate reversal of decades of social access to the arts, and by association, the possible disappearance of whole strands of discourse from diverse voices. Can't remember what that one was about, so we'll just deal with that. So we weren't the only ones that were upset about it. We were both involved in the student demonstrations in 2010, not integrally. We were just kind of like the old people willing them on safely. But so we're not the only ones, but we wanted to do something very pragmatic at that time, and the concept of Arts Emergency as an organisation began to formulate between the student demos and the London riots in mid-2011. We both happen to be influenced in different ways by the work of Kurt Vonnegut, I presume loads of people love because he's excellent. At the time Josie came to my office wanting to do something, I was reading Slapstick, which is a semi-autobiographical novella, in short, set in a post-apocalyptic America where the lead character, the President of the United States, assigns every citizen an arbitrary middle name. So I'd give you the middle name Daffodil, and I'd give someone over here, you sir, in a blue shirt, you'd have a middle name Daffodil, and arbitrarily you'd have to help each other out whenever you needed something, which I really liked. It's very simple as a proposition, and it really applied to the kind of outcomes I wanted to achieve setting this charity up. So, we had some good role models to base this service on. I mean, Grace and Perry said everything, but we're actually doing this at the moment. We got a load of people together in the basement of a radical bookshop in King's Cross, where my then campaign office was for another campaign I set up. There's about 20 of us, and we spent around 3 hours listing out and categorising all the benefits that people that have these kind of influential networks accrue over a lifetime. When we had that list, I went away and set up a way of delivering those benefits to young people. I first of all was lucky enough to get lots of high profile support. All of these people have worked with our students and are integral to the service we're delivering, but we do also use them to get the campaign message out in mainstream media that the arts are not a luxury. Jake Chapman is our patron, and he surmises very efficiently what we do, creating privilege for people without privilege that people with privilege can't have. Which I think only Jake could say it like that. It sounds kind of grumpy, but also it's very accurate. We registered as a charity in June last year, after about 2 years of feasibility research on my part. I quit my job at that point, and we launched with a big gig at the Hackney Empire. And since then, from an initial 2 of us sharing our contacts, to an initial 10 of our friends, to 20, over that year we now have 1,000 members in our network. Everyone's an arts graduate, and everyone's giving any help that a student requires throughout their year with us. We've already handled requests for free help and advice from young people at 52 schools, colleges and universities across the country. That's everything from UCL and Brit School to the smallest state-funded sixth form in South Wales and the South West. In responding to these requests, I started to tick things off of my list of benefits. We have sourced free tuition, paid employment, counselling, work experience, backstage passes, equipment, vocal coaching for auditions, UCAS advice, materials, instruments, computers, accommodation and legal advice for 600 disadvantaged young people across the country. At the heart of this, thank you. Cheers. That's kind of like the cheeky bonus, because the real element of work we do is one-to-one mentoring, initially in the London Borough of Hackney, where we launched a pilot in 2012. That particular project takes up most of my time day to day, and the initial pilot ran for a year with 16 students from that borough completing the year, all of whom made it to university, and all of whom are still coming back and using that network we've built around 9 months after they've graduated, which indicates that I think we might be on the road to actually recreating that privilege genuinely, and they can come back to us when they graduate, whatever, questions, work experience, that kind of thing. This month has been a very busy month, hence the rangy nature of this talk I wrote last night. We opened a mentoring service to teenagers in Greenwich, Newham, Wandsworth and Salford in Manchester. We'll be mentoring about 200 mentors and student pairs by Christmas at the current rate, and our estimated demand for this mentoring service, this intensive one-to-one support, is around 2,000 in London alone. There's another 69 regions that I've indicated have a kind of toxic correlation between disadvantage and lack of participation in higher education as well. It's important to note that it is not our mentors' job to prescribe behaviour, to open doors for the student. They're there to empower that young person to feel just as entitled as a lot of us do when we walk into a room or when we email someone to ask for something. Very simple things that a lot of people don't take for granted. I think because we operate like that, and because those mentoring relationships are supported by 1,000 very generous, talented people, they tend to be quite unique in the sector. So any comparable project I've looked at is not long-term, and we are long-term. But we fully expect that maybe within 10 years we'll have built-in obsolescence with this network we're building. We can disappear, and that will still retain its usefulness for people that are eligible. So this is a cause that's born of a lot of passion, a lot of anger at injustice, because a lot of you are my kind of age, so we all had to pay fees as well. And I know, having quit my job and been a freelancer, that it is quite prohibitive in many ways, and I found it difficult as a working class person to study English literature. I had to make a lot of justifications that peers at university didn't have to make. But this is also born of hours, months and years of conversation with like-minded people. So I used to be one of the 50 most influential fundraisers in the country, but I've now spent about 2.5 years being an uncle / agitator / administrator. It's all been worth it, I think. We're getting a lot of good results. Quantitative and qualitative analysis on the service, although it's small samples, does show that it's having a real impact. We're also turning over only about 20 grand a year as well, so we're kind of putting two fingers up to some of the larger diversity drives at bigger organisations. So when I read this stuff out, it does kind of sound like we're really big, but we're not. This is the network itself. That was the initial 200 people to join, and we commissioned an artist. Well, he did it for free, but commissioning makes it sound better. To paint everybody. So now if someone donates and joins the network, we're only funded by about 200 people at around £5 a month, which is difficult to run a quality service, and we still give a lot of our time over and above allocated hours, but it's all about offering human contact and real tangible benefits for the young people. So people that join now can pay £2 a month to get those made for them, and it helps us run the mentoring. That's some of our students. I haven't got time to tell you some of the stories, and I don't tend to put them out in the public realm. We're not big enough to ensure anonymity at this moment in time, but in a year's time, I will have a compilation of really outstanding case studies to share publicly as well, which I'm looking forward to. Yeah, this is a kind of a visual metaphor. I'm not great at presentations. These represent things that we want to do, not actually smashing things, but breaking down walls, ram raiding, infiltrating and pulling a ladder down. All these visual metaphors are what we're trying to do, which, having talked about the quality of what we do, seems a bit gauche now. I'm sorry about that. There's our office. I took that before I left. Josie refused to come with me and talk, so make of that what you will. But yeah, that's our office in Dalston. I suppose my closing message I've actually done it all right on time, I think. My closing message is on that badge, and this is what we give everyone that donates, all the students that sign up. And I think as artists and activists and thinkers, we have a unique responsibility to make life better. Quality of life is an important thing. And if you want a better future, we have to make it ourselves. So thank you.